Safer. Let's speak with Osyobuke Ohiomoy, Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to Edo State Governor, on this latest development. Boogie, right.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me on the program.
Okay,
right, so let's start this way, because, I mean, we all remember that Governor Okpebholo came into office promising to restore security. The question is, Edo safer today than it was when he assumed office?
Edo is more than just being safer. I dare say Edo is one of the safest states, to live in Nigeria today. Of course, it wasn't always like that. And, some of the security challenges that states face is peculiar to several states, but due to certain strategies that the governor has been able to employ in Edo State, we're seeing a much safer space. Of course, there's no environment that is 100% crime-free. As long as you have deviance in society, there's a propensity to crime. But Governor Okpebholo's attempt and attention to security has largely been founded on three key pillars. One, prevention. Make it difficult for the crime to happen. So even if somebody has intentions to commit crime, make it very difficult. If at all the person succeeds in committing that crime, ensure that the crime will be solved. Crime situations must be solved. And finally, prosecution. You must ensure that after the crime has been solved, the perpetrators are adequately punished to give justice to the victims and to also ensure that it's like a deterrent to other people. So using those three areas, leveraging on those three areas, and of course, setting homegrown strategies, we've been able to basically manage security very. Governor Okpebholo has been able to manage security very effectively.
And in managing the security at those states, what would you identify as, your single biggest security achievement so far?
Several. The stories, the stories from Edo State already paint a picture. Last week, I think it was last week or upper week, on a Sunday, a woman was kidnapped in Benin City, which was very rare, and that was why there was a huge outcry against it, because those kind of things don't happen within the city usually. The governor gave a charge to the security agencies to ensure that those criminals were caught, and within 24 hours, it was done. Edo State used to have a serious, if you Googled Edo State and security in the past, cultism was a very major issue. This was a situation where we had cult clashes where we had as much as 30, 40, 50 young people dying. At least in the last 1 year, cultism has almost been totally eradicated. So it's just a total intervention in the security management system of Edo State. And Governor Okpebholo, who practices what we call practical governance, homegrown solutions for homegrown problems, practical solutions for problems. The major while we can't go too deep into the specific details of the security strategies that have been employed, but on a general level, community engagement. Governor Okpebholo has successfully helped the people understand that security is everybody's responsibility. In Edo State today, everybody is involved in the security fight. The citizens, the government, the security agencies, the corporate bodies, families, religious organizations, everybody. Some of the laws, some of the steps that he took, for example, amending the anti-kidnapping, anti-cultism law, spread culpability, spread responsibility. It's not just the people who commit the crime anymore. If you have a property as a landlord and your property is used for committing crime, or it is where crime was planned or it was hatched, the building will be brought down. And several buildings like that have been brought down. And that has put responsibility on people now to ensure that they see something, they say something. He also initiated a whistleblower policy that ensures that anybody who can provide actionable information for the police to solve a kidnapping crime gets 5 million naira.
Have all these strategies worked? Because the governor's opponents, political enemies don't stop saying the governor reacts instead of staying ahead of security incidents.
Like I said, Edo State is still one of the safest places. Like I said, there's no way there's a 100%.
I think those are political statements.
Of course. Anybody who's in Edo State will tell you. Apart from the peculiar challenges we have that is consistent with a lot of other states, the issue of banditry, which has been seriously curtailed in Edo State, there's basically almost no major security challenge that Edo State is dealing with beyond that. And what's interesting is that we're even finding out that the few incidences of banditry and kidnappings that we experience even have local collaboration. and with deeper intelligence.
So how is the governor
gathering.
dealing with that?
Of course, like I said, some of these policies is brought in the whistleblower policy that rewards people for providing information. It's beginning to expose a lot of all these local collaborators. I mean, two major prominent indigenes in Edo Central have had their buildings, of course, they've been caught and had their buildings brought down. I can't remember specifically, but there was one that happened in, I think it was Uromi, and there were key people in community. That the community, of course, the governor also initiated and reorganized the Edo State Security Corps, which is like a form of community policing. Since the conversation around community policing came up, I said the truth is a lot of states are already almost having structures like that. But of course, because of the limitations of law, there's an extent to which those units can actually be very effective. With the passage of this bill now, we expect that the bites that those bodies need, like the Edo State Security Corps, will be put in place, and that has really helped.
Because I wanted to ask, if the government has made this level of progress, what's the need for the establishment of special courts? Also, while addressing that, would you also confirm if the special court will be known as Special Criminal Court 1 and will take effect from Wednesday, July 1, 2026?
Okay, so I explained earlier on that the governor's approach to security is largely in three directions: prevention of the crime, if the crime happens, the solution, and thirdly, prosecution. You must prosecute the crime so that the victims can get justice and also to serve as a deterrent. A major step in that is the setting up of this special courts to try. We've had situations where, security-related crimes are taken to court and they drag on for so long. At the end of the day, nobody knows what happened. Governor Okpebholo has ensuring that people can see that justice is delivered as quickly as possible. Hence, he's writing to the Chief Judge to set up this court, which the Chief Judge graciously has done. And this will ensure that cases that have to do with crime, violent crime particularly, are immediately dispensed with, judgment is given and is executed. And like the governor has publicly said, the revamped anti-kidnapping law provides for death penalty for any crime where lives were lost. And he has said it, that if that law is passed, if that judgment is given against you, he will personally ensure that he signs the warrant. And
I'm sure you know this has generated some debate, arguments and counter-arguments. But let's take a break, and when we return, we'll delve into that. Please stay with us, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on Politics Tonight. The Chief Judge of Edo State has formally established Special Criminal Court 1 to expedite trials for offences related to cultism and kidnapping. And the question we're asking tonight is, would this make Edo safer? On the program tonight is Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Edo State Governor, Osiobugi Okwemoy. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you,
so
Jamaica.
the governor is ready to sign that warrant, but
Yes.
the argument is that such decision means you're addressing the end of the criminal justice process rather than the beginning. So shouldn't the priority be preventing criminals, rather kidnappers, instead of talking about executions?
There are different layers to justice delivery and crime management. Like I said, it starts with prevention. There are people in society who are programmed negatively and will seek to commit crime. So you try as much as possible to ensure it doesn't happen. Yes, they don't, even if they have the idea, they shouldn't be able to do it. If they do it, the crime must be solved and the perpetrators must be apprehended. After they've been apprehended, you now have the third layer where you ensure that justice is served for the victims and to also serve as a deterrent.
It's a very bold move because,
Yes.
Nigerian governors have historically been very reluctant to sign death warrants, even after courts have imposed the death penalty. So what makes Governor Okpebholo different?
Desperate times deserve desperate measures.
But is it concerned about
the truth is,
the moral burden that has made many of his predecessors unwilling to do this?
it's society kind of contributed to, in some ways, contributed to what we're dealing with today. Like I said, the minute our moral values went on a decline, we almost lost it. The minute we began to celebrate ill-gotten wealth, the minute people who had questionable income began to get chieftaincy titles, the minute people who had income that people knew was not clean began to get front row seats at public events, children were watching, teenagers were watching, and the message was clear: money is everything. So as they grew, they imbibed the ideology, and at some point you say, we need to get back to where we got it wrong. Public executions were part of the justice management system in years past. today in Edo State, particularly because of that part of the law that provides for demolition of properties used in, parents are now more conscious of their children's conduct. You have situations where parents are appealing to children. Parents are actually reporting recalcitrant children because no parent wants to labor to build a property, and then because of the excesses of a recalcitrant child, the parent loses that property. So the whole concept, I mean, that's Governor Okpebholo's strategy. You must get the community involved. A lot of times, citizens take the position of it's we against government. We are all government. They say democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So we are all part of it. That's what influenced the monthly environmental sanitation. We complain about bad roads, but when you look at some of the reasons why we have bad roads, it's because of flooding on the roads. Why is there flooding on the roads? Because sometimes the drainages are blocked. Dedicate a day for everybody to come out and ensure that the environment is clean. Of course, in addition to health-related issues and cleanliness. That's what gave rise to, a couple of months ago, he provided construction equipment for all the local governments, basic road maintenance and construction equipment for all the local governments. Let local governments begin to serve the purpose for which we all can't wait for the state government to. So it's all in line, get the people involved. So this new policy of setting up the special courts, ensuring that justice is speedily dispensed, and where there is a conviction of death, ensure that it is signed. I'm very sure that maybe when the first 1 or 2 executions take place, you will see drastic changes. Drastic. Parents will send out children who are misbehaving. Parents will report neighbors, will report relatives. And I mean, we're already seeing that effect and produce results.
I get you, and I kind of understand where the state government is coming from. But for a country that has always, there's this challenge of implementation in this part of the world, and the kind of bottlenecks we deal with in this country, as the state government also considered, like established dedicated prosecutors and specialized investigators alongside these courts.
All will be done. The justice system, the legal system will take care of all of the legal necessities. Right. What is required is the will. And if there's one thing anybody knows, Governor Okpebholo does not talk empty. If he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And he's proven that several times. So people know, people take him serious, that if that actually happens and anybody is declared guilty and sentenced to death, he would sign it. As painful as it's going to be, but like I said, desperate times deserve desperate measures. And the truth is, when you hear some of the atrocities that these criminals commit, I mean, you think about it and you realize that it's only fair that sometimes they get the same treatment they mete out to.
Before we move on to other matter, also security matter, but quickly, does the governor worry that, once he publicly commits to signing death warrants, failure to do so or failing to do so in particular cases could expose him to accusations of inconsistency?
That's not consistent with Governor Okpebholo's character. He's a man who's very principled, who's very just, who's very upright. His ways are straight. If he does it for one person, he'll do it for the. I mean, if you know Governor Okpebholo very well, he's not the person. The other day there was a ministers' conference, a Christian ministers' conference, and he was, a guest of honor there. And he spoke there, and he told the pastors, after giving them a little background on the security situation, he made a statement categorically to them saying, please, if I catch anybody for crime, pastors, don't call me. None of you should please plead with me. He's already sounding that note of warning.
He looks very gentle, but very firm.
Oh, he said it that day. He said, don't take my simplicity for granted. But you see him very humble, very meek, but very resolute. Governor Okpebholo came into office. He ran for office with clear-cut objectives, with clear-cut goals of what he wanted to achieve. Develop Edo State, move Edo State from the ancient city status that it's always accorded to a developed, a society that is developed, eradicate crime, make Edo safe, and he's pursuing all of those objectives aggressively.
Let's talk about state police, because at the moment the constitutional amendment of state policing is now at the 36, on the stage of where all 36 houses of assembly expected to consider and vote on before it returns to Mr. President. So as his executive at the moment formally engaged these lawmakers to ensure that Edo is among the first states to complete this process. The conversation has it happened?
I think everybody agrees that at this point, the Nigerian police is not capable, not in terms of capacity, but in terms of numbers, in terms of reach, in terms of spread.
Capacity.
Yes, they can't handle this alone. There has to be an increase. And it's a responsibility the federal government may not be able to bear. if you want to check the number of police personnel that is required to maintain security, law and order in the country, the federal government may not be able to bear the burden of that number. So states just have to come in. Apart from that, when you look at the local dynamics around managing crime, it must be grassroots based. The people know who the criminals are. They know where they stay. You know, you have a situation where you have a DPO who was posted from probably the north to serve in a community that he doesn't know, he doesn't understand. So I think we all agree that the state police is a necessity. Of course, where the argument and where the contention has always been, will it be abused? Will the state governors abuse it and all of that? So I think with proper engagement, with some of the modalities and the structures that the National Assembly has put in place, I think it will check.
But if state police becomes a reality, does it have the financial capacity to recruit, train, equip, and sustain such a force over the long term?
A lot of states, like I said, are already managing stuff like that. Like in Edo State, we have the governor constituted, revamped, trained, and equipped the Edo State Security Corps with an initial personnel strength of 2,500, and he recently gave instructions for an extra 5,400. That already gives us about almost 10,000, a 10,000 man force. With the passage of this new law, it's easier to probably metamorphose that outfit into the state police, and then you provide equipment, you provide weapons and other stuff for them. So it's already being managed, it's already being handled, and security is not something that, when it comes to budgeting and when it comes to financial expenditure, I think security is priority for any state governor, especially Governor Monday Okpebholo.
But also, quickly before I let you go, worrisome for many of us is that before this current administration, so many politicians, so many stakeholders campaign vigorously for state police, arguing that it was the best solution to our security crisis. But today, after, with all of this going on, we're looking forward to the 36 houses of assembly to consider it so that it can get back to Mr. President. You have some politicians, some stakeholders saying otherwise today. What does it say about the kind of politics we play in Nigeria?
Yeah. It's related. It almost has the same origins and background as when those who are in opposition feel that they don't have access to power or to some authority, and the people who argue against it, or the people who seem to have contentions, are those who feel that it might be used against their interests most times. And it's a natural place to be when you are in opposition. The fear of, I saw a story recently where I think one of the presidential candidates of one of the parties was saying they should keep it on hold till after the election. And I'm like, we're dealing with dire security situations presently. Look at what's going on with banditry. But of course, because of that fear and that concern that, something might be used, you prefer that it is delayed. So it's just how it is, but what must be done must be done. Any resolute leader who has a plan.
All right, then we're looking forward to the modalities that will be put in place for this special court to thrive. And I think optimism is the best game here. Thank you so much for speaking with me on the program tonight.
My pleasure.
Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Edo State Governor, Osiobue Ohiomoy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jumoke.
Thank you. Thank you for watching, everyone. Marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with CVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at CVC News NG, and at Olajumo Kedo. We're using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/CVC News NG. I'm Olajumo Kedo. Good night, everyone, and please have a great weekend.